Okay, so this was released earlier today, pretty early actually, 9:57 a.m. Um, Welcome to another developer update. We will be focusing on the newest content that was tested in the PTB. Yes. Wait. PTB including the Houndmaster and associated perks. Additional live balance changes that were in the PTB will have their feedback addressed in the hotfixes that follow the chapter release. Oh, I didn't read this part before because I had somewhat like skimmed over these earlier. So apparently Apparently, the additional live balance changes that were in the PTB, like the changes to the 7 licensed killers like Dracula, Chucky, Demogorgon, all those, Wesker, um, they didn't release, as you'll see here, just by scrolling. It's a very short one. They didn't release any changes for those killers. And I was like, so they didn't listen to any of the feedback that people gave about Myers? Like, Myers definitely needed some final tweaks. Uh, Vecna needed some final tweaks. Dracula needed some add-on nerfs for Medusa's hair. Uh, Ghostface buffs were kind of meh, like underwhelming, right? So they definitely they nerfed Demogorgon's add-ons for no reason. Like I was hoping they would address it, and thankfully they say right here, um, those other things will have their feedback addressed in the hotfixes that follow the chapter release. So any hotfixes that come out after tomorrow, so chapter release is tomorrow, any hotfixes past that will be addressing these killers and probably some of these perks as well. For Houndmaster, however, they have changed it so completed generators now appear light orange to the Houndmaster. They did this so you can have the Hound go over to a completed generator, because before, once it was completed, you could no longer see it and you could no longer target the Hound to go over there. Um, it would be nice if Freddy could do this, if he could still teleport to completed generators, honestly. But either way, I think this is good. I am hoping that alongside this, they also made it easier to place the search path, because trying to place the search path was really bad. It would like get stuck on the objects while you're trying to aim, and then it would move really slowly. Like you would send it out, and it would move like a few inches, get stuck on a rock, and then you would like try to turn it around, and then it would like glitch off the rock and then teleport like 30 meters away, and then you would move it another inch and then it would go right back in front of you, and it was like horrible to place. So hopefully that is better as well, because that was not that good. Survivors afflicted with Hound Sense now appear bright red to the Houndmaster. That is good, I guess. Then again, the only benefit of them being with Hound Sense is that when you hit them, they get put into Deep Wound. And if you continue to chase that person and down them, that Deep Wound is entirely useless. The only reason this would be good is for getting rid of Dead Hard, so they can't Dead Hard because they're already in Mending, or tunneling by getting rid of Off the Record or getting rid of BT. But then again, you still have to hit them. Wait, so that wouldn't even work. You still have to hit them. I guess it would only make sense in terms of off the record counter if they were full health and they had off the record somehow still by getting healed. Either way, it can't even be used for tunneling. So I don't know. Definitely seems like they could have done some better effect of the Hound Sense, because what it seems to incentivize is that you want to hit them and then they get put into mending and then you leave them so they have to mend. They want you to play Legion Houndmaster, I guess. Dev note, this will allow Houndmaster to target generators at unlimited range. Oh, okay. That was one thing before. I couldn't tell if it was meant to be limited range, but it looks like they wanted it to be unlimited range, so you can actually send the Hound across the map, which is good, because then it lets you have map mobility across the map, because for those of you who didn't play Houndmaster, um, when you send the dog across the map, it creates like a patrol path, kind of like Knight's Guards, and if you walk along it, it gives you a speed increase. So that's also your map mobility. Because what they've been trying to do is give all the new killers some form of map mobility, because to survive in the new DBD meta, or not even like surviving the DBD meta, just like if you're going to be a good killer, the killer needs to have some form of map mobility, right? Um, so this will be her map mobility, kind of similar to Clown, where he gets his yellow bottles, but people still say Clown has no map mobility, um, which is kind of interesting. Or maybe they say that he doesn't have map pressure, which I can kind of agree with, because he doesn't have any alternative objective for them to deal with. But I don't know. I think she'll be fine with map mobility, at least. I don't know too much if she'll be good with map pressure, depending on what the dog does. Increase the search command starting hound sense radius by 2.5 meters, was 1.5. That's good. The little circle around the hound was what would detect them to actually give them hound sense, and then the hound sense ability was already underwhelming. So I was like, meh. But it also says right here on the PTB this was not working as intended. So the actual written in the power description is as the longer the path or the patrol path of the hound, the bigger the hound sense radius gets. And what I'm thinking, because it was 1.5, whatever multiplier it was for how big it was getting was like really, really low because it was multiplying by a factor of 1, right? And so now that it's at 2, whatever multiplier they have should actually exponentially increase the detection radius. So maybe it will be a good detection radius. I think 2.5 meters or 2.5 meters is really, really bad if it stays that way the entire time. But if it starts out at 2.5 meters, like a tiny circle, but it grows to a really big circle, then I actually think this has some viability to it, especially for tracking. So let's hope that it gets to become like a bigger circle. Maybe one of the buffs they would give her, because they usually give killers an additional buff uh, like 2 or 3 weeks after their release. So maybe they would be like buffed the multiplier to increase in the hound sense radius or something. I don't know. We'll see though. Increase Houndmaster's movement speed bonus whilst running on the search path to 6 meters per second was 5.2. Damn. Okay. So 5.2 is 130% movement speed, and 6 meters per second is 150%. So they buffed it by 20%. That's gonna be really fast then. You're gonna be moving at sprint burst speed while walking on the path. The only downside to this is the path is very skinny and you have to follow the path that the dog took, and sometimes the path the dog takes is not the way you want to go. Because like maybe you do want to go to a gen, but you want to stop by somewhere else first to see if a survivor's there or whatever, you know. So like, I think they could increase this even further, kind of maybe even like make it like 6.5, like Dracula's bat form, because Dracula's got that bat form, and it's free roam, right? He can go anywhere with it. Same with Wraith. Wraith has got super fast movement speed, and it's free roam. She has very limited roam with this speed ability, and it's slower than both Dracula and Wraith. So I feel like they could definitely speed this up, considering it's so limited. The search command's detection zone to target objects has been increased, and it should now be easier to aim. Okay, so they did make it easier to aim. That's good. Reduce the search command's cooldown to 0.5 seconds was 5. Now that sounds like a huge reduction, but the reason this this is a good change is because you would have to send the dog out, wait for the dog to get to that point, wait for the dog to come back, and then when it got back to you, then you would have to wait an additional 5 seconds for the power to get off cooldown, right? So 0.5 seconds is basically means you're going to get it back instantly. It's going to get rid of a lot of the waiting simulator that you had. The dev note search command had some unfortunate bugs on the PTB, but we were still able to notice it was undertuned. Thank you for your feedback. We realized that, thanks to your feedback, we realized that it wasn't particularly excelling at our intention of letting the Houndmaster move at high speeds around the map to find survivors, or find survivors. We've made some significant changes to the movement speed and the hound sense radius around Snug. With the reduction in the cooldown time, we're confident this will allow the duo to move quickly to a location, find survivors, and start threatening them with the chase command immediately. Good. And for those of you to kind of like put this into perspective of why they're saying it like this, if you do send the dog to a gen and you follow that path with them, then you will have less time for the dog to come back and meet you, right? If you stand still, send the dog, then the dog goes all the way to the gen and then has to come all the way back to you. But if you follow the dog with its path, then it has to go all the way there and then only slightly back to you, right? And with the half a second cooldown, that means by the time you get there, you're actually going to be able to use the chase ability, which it looks like they've also buffed as well. Increase the chase command acceleration on the dog to 32 meters a second was 29. That's pretty nutty. I already thought it was really fast, but this will probably just make it way more forgiving to hit. Increase the chase command, redirect linger time once the dog completes distance to 1 second was 0.7. Okay. I did say that was one of the feedbacks I gave. I said like the time to choose the second redirect was like really low, and sometimes even when I was trying to do it, if it like lagged or something, I wouldn't even have enough time to press it. And so I think they could even increase this to like 2 seconds, I'm not gonna lie. I think 1 second is still a little bit too low. I didn't know it was. I already thought it was at 1 second, so I was like buff it to 2 seconds, but apparently it was even less than 1 second. So that makes sense. Um, they could definitely do a little bit more there, but I won't be able to give you full feedback until I've played it. Reduce the chase command camera transition time from the Houndmaster to the dog, and vice versa when activating redirect to 0.25 seconds was 0.5. I personally think this should be instant, like Unknown's teleport or something like that, or like changing to a camera as Singularity is instant. I don't even know. I didn't even notice there was a delay, so maybe this will make it so it doesn't even feel like it anyways, but maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe there's some reasoning behind it. The feedback that we received from the P2P showed that players found the chase command fun and satisfying, however, the redirect had issues that needed to be addressed. It feels great to land one, but failing to catch someone often leaves Portia in a less than desirable position. In Survivors, gaining a lot of distance, while it feels rewarding, it does have a very high skill floor, so by increasing Snug's acceleration, it should give killers more time to turn, aim, and send Snug even faster. I'm hoping so this obviously the acceleration is applied on the second attack too. I'm hoping they made it so yeah, because they stopped talking about it after this. I'm hoping they address the vaulting because the dog would like pause in front of a pallet, vault over a pallet, or sometimes would glitch. The animations were really buggy, so hopefully they also fix the animations of the dog running alongside you or going over pallets or windows. But there was like a stutter and pause that the dog had while it was going over a pallet or window, and because it was so long, most of the time that you would like use it to catch a survivor, they would already be well out of the vault. Because the whole purpose of sending it over a vault is to catch the survivor mid-vault. But if it pauses, does a really slow vault, and pauses again, then the survivor is going to be way past that vault and is going to completely miss. So I'm hoping they fix something about that, but there's nothing in here talking about it. Okay. Reduced the percentage. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. Knotted rope add-on to 10% was 40. It was nutty. When you paired this with Save the Best for Last, this made you have a 72% faster recovery animation. Now you can still pair it with Save the Best for Last, but it will only be, what is it, 32, so it would be 42%. It'll still be good with Save the Best for Last, but you're going to have to run Save the Best for Last to get the best value. I think it's still a good add-on, though. We realized during the P2P that 40% was incredibly high for this type of add-on and would make it far too strong. They could have just made it so it doesn't stack, honestly. And then make it so it can stay at 40% because it was basically the same thing as to Biffle, but I don't know if they would. This is probably the easier way to deal with that. And then the final change was increase the exposed duration to 40 seconds for Shoulder the Burden. I think this is a good change because the only time I see people getting value out of this is in like a comp team. And I definitely know a comp player would easily be able to survive 20 seconds of exposed as long as they're near a somewhat strong tile. But 40 seconds gives the killer a little bit more time to react to such a strong game-changing effect, you know? And I think this is a good change. We felt the exposed time on the perk was too short for how strong the perk can be for trading hook states with another player. We wanted to ensure that the risk and reward was more balanced. Yeah, I think that's great. For Shoulder the Burden, this perk is only going to be useful if you are not already hooked yourself, right? This is going to be a deliverance type kind of perk where if you get hooked, you are not going to want to use this perk because if you already have one hook state and you go and trade a hook for someone else, then you get put onto dead hook and you get exposed for 40 seconds. So if you are dead hook and the killer finds you and you get insta down, then you just killed yourself. So the only time you're going to ever want to use this perk is if you have yet to be hooked, and you only want to use it on someone who is, you know, dead hooked themselves if they've already been hooked twice, so you can bring them back to one hook because then they can be hooked 4 times, you know. I think it'll be cool. I'll probably try it out, and then if I have a teammate that's getting tunneled and like I'm getting completely ignored, I will definitely do this. I'll trade like this. I'll try it with Kamui probably. If they're tunneling you, Kamui, I will take it. Like once you get to second hook, I'll activate it. It'll bring you back to first hook, and I'll be first hook, but we'll both be first hook, so it doesn't matter who they tunnel now then, you know? Because it's fine. And then you could even take the hit for the person with the 40 seconds of exposed. You could pair this. Oh my god, wait, that would be. You could pair this with borrowed time so the person that you unhook can take a hit for you even longer because of the extended endurance duration. I just realized. This perk will be so evil with borrowed time because you can pair it with that and have the person off the hook take the hit for the exposed person. Also, I'm coughing a lot. I'm sorry. Don't waste it on Kamui. Kamui never goes down. Yeah, I know. But I think this will be good. If you used it on someone who was on their first hook, then you would be unhooking them, and then you'd be first hook. The only reason I would see you would ever want to do this is if you're playing with a brand new player, and like I don't know, you wanted them to have extra safety or security, I guess. I don't know. But I think it'll be best to use it when you haven't been hooked and they're on dead hook. I think that's the best time. You also have to be the one to get the unhook though. So if you're in solo queue, it could just get robbed in front of your face by a teammate. So you never really know. I think this is good changes. I think the only thing I want them to see, well, I would say I want them to increase the Hound Sense radius, but I'm not sure how big the circle will get now because they have also fixed it so it wasn't bugged. So we never got to see how it played out on the PTB. So I don't know if this is good or bad. I'll have to give more feedback on that when I actually get to play her. I think this is good change. I think Hound Sense, when they're affected by it, needs to have some sort of stronger effect. I'm not quite sure what else they could do besides the Deep Wound and the Killer Instinct, but something would be nice. They should definitely increase this because her being slower than Dracula and like the same speed as Wraith when Wraith has full control movement speed of in his ability and Dracula has full movement speed control. Um, with her just having to follow a skinny little line that she can't really control where the line goes, I think it should be a bit quicker, you know? Other than that, I'm glad they fixed this. This is good. This is good. The only other thing is I think they should make the lingering 2 seconds instead of 1 second, and maybe make this instant. But honestly, it's so quick I don't even think it matters. So probably just this being a bit longer redirect. But that one I also am gonna have to test. Um, I'm definitely hoping that, like they said here, their feedback, they do address feedback for all these other killers, because there was 7 other killers in this PTB that people tested and gave tons of feedback for. So when I read this earlier, I didn't see that, and I was like, damn. So they just ignored like hundreds of posts of feedback for all these perks and all this, because I gave a feedback on Human Greed, because it's one of my favorite perks right now, for Unknown specifically, and I gave feedback for like Vecna and Myers. So I'm like, they didn't listen to any of that, but we don't know if they have or haven't yet. They will release patches in the future addressing them, so we'll have to see when we get there. But yeah, pretty good changes. I'm excited to play her tomorrow when she comes out.